it's Emily. I'm going to get dinner going. I'm using an electric roaster today. The roaster, it's 8 quarts. And I'm going to make Tex-Mex Sweet Pork. This is so good. It's good for burritos, it's good for tacos, enchiladas, salad. My butt roast is 5.5 pounds. It's a pretty good sized butt, which I'm used to working with. So here we go. This has a bone in it. That's fine. It'll give it a lot of flavor. Didn't know that. So I'm going to put that fat side down. It's going to give us a lot of tender meat when that melts off. So to this meat, I'm going to add some seasonings. I'm going to add some cumin, some ground cumin. Okay, after the cumin, I'm going to add a good amount of chili powder. Today is one of those days I'm going to be gone most of the day, so I want to get this in the roaster, get it cooking. I actually put my roaster out in the garage, just so it doesn't smell up the whole house. I have a little table out there, and it's by an outlet. So that's what I do. So that's what our meat looks like, all seasoned up. And then I'm going to add a can of Coca-Cola. And make sure it's not diet. I love my Diet Coke, but for this recipe, you're going to want the full sugar. A whole can of Coke. You can use Dr. Pepper, you can use root beer. I like to use Coke. And I'm going to add about maybe a cup of salsa, just out of the jar. I didn't measure, but that was probably 3/4 of a cup or so. And then brown sugar. Oh, my brown sugar's hard. You know what makes brown sugar really soft? A piece of white bread. You can have brown sugar that is like hard as a rock, and if you put 1 slice of white bread in there, it will soften that up so much. I'm going to let that sit for just probably an hour or so. I'm going to move on and do that later. Diced green chilies, 1 can. I don't know, if you're from Utah, you've heard of Cafe Rio and Costa Vida. This is kind of a spin on that. Green chilies. And then 1 small can of red enchilada sauce. And I'm going to throw in a few cloves of garlic. Or you can always use garlic powder, that's fine too. Here's my red enchilada sauce. I'm going to add 4 cloves of garlic. And that's what we have so far. Except we have everything we need in the roaster oven except the brown sugar. I'm going to let this sit for a minute and then I'm going to add that. Hi friends! I started my butt roast about an hour ago. I went and dropped the dogs off at the groomers. They're getting a bath and a haircut today. This is what it looks like so far. I put it on 275 degrees. I can smell it. It smells so yummy. Remember how hard the brown sugar was? I put a slice of white bread. That's a good trick. If you don't have white bread, you can put marshmallows. Look at this. It's already really soft where the bread was. The rest of it will soften up too, but it's only been an hour. So I just need probably about 1/3 of a cup. I'm going to put 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar. Okay, and I'm going to put this back. Remember, I like to put it out in my garage so it doesn't smell up the house. I'm going to leave it on 275. I've got all day to cook this. Hi friends, it's been 8 hours since I started the pork roast in the electric roaster. This is what it looks like now after 8 hours. It's just kind of pulling away from the bone. It's going to be nice and tender. We've still got some sauce. Once we shred up the pork, it's going to absorb all that sauce. Look at this bone just coming out. Just pulled out that whole bone. That's what it looks like. Now it's got some fat ribbons going through it, so I want to get those out. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take big chunks of this and just put it on a plate. And then I'm going to shred it and then put it back in this sauce. And take the whole thing out and only put the good meat back in. There's some fat to this. It was a big butt, remember? 5.5 pounds. So there's a lot of fat. But there's a lot of good meat too, and it's going to be nice and tender. So I took the dogs to get groomed today. I cleaned the house and played pickleball for 2 hours. And we're still having a nice hot dinner. That's what I like about the electric roaster. Okay, now that's all good. Look at all that yummy sauce. So this is what all the meat looks like. I'm going to let this cool for just a bit and then shred it. Okay, the meat is all shredded. That's quite a bit of meat. Can you see all that sauce that's remaining? I'm going to stir this all together, and then I'm going to put this back on the heat. I'm going to plug in the electric roaster. Now that this meat is shredded, it's going to soak up all that nice sauce. And it smells good. I can smell the sweetness. I can smell the spiciness. There's one piece I didn't get shredded very well. There we go. Look at that. I'm going to plug it in and set it to 300 just until I get the other parts of dinner ready. I'm going to make a few enchiladas and a few tacos, maybe a burrito, just to show you what you can do with this meat. But that's the basic sweet pork recipe, shredded sweet pork. And you can use this for so many things. And look at all this made. I mean, that's a lot of meat. So whatever my family doesn't use tonight, I'm going to put this in Ziploc bags or in Rubbermaid containers and put it in the freezer for another night. What I love about electric roasters is you can set the exact temperature that you want. So I had this going for about 8 hours at 275 degrees. So it was a slow and low cook. And look how well that meat is cooked. It's just tender, and we didn't lose all of our sauce because we were cooking it at a kind of a low temperature. Now I'm going to turn it up a little to about 300 just to get that sauce incorporated with the meat. And while this is warming up, I'm going to get tortillas ready and get going on dinner. It's only been a few minutes since I turned the electric roaster at 300. The sauce is soaking in and it's sizzling. So I think I'm going to turn it down and just let it keep warm now. I think it was about 10 minutes, and look at that. Okay, what I'm doing now is I'm prepping some sides. I've got a Spanish rice just right out of the bag. I'm making 2 packages of this because my daughter can eat one almost by herself. So 2 packages of Spanish rice, and then all I did was open this can of beans, and it's already seasoned. It's black beans. It's called Black Bean Fiesta by Bush's. It's mild chipotle sauce with corn and peppers and black beans. So it's already all seasoned up for us. So I'm making these 2 sides, and I'm also going to melt some cheese on some tortillas, and I'm going to use corn and flour. So I'm going to go ahead and get those fried up with some cheese on them. We're ready to assemble our dinner now. We've got this sweet pork. It's all shredded, and it's soaked up that sauce nicely. It's going to be full of flavor. So I want to show you 3 ways tonight to use this meat. The first one is enchiladas. So I've got 2 flour tortillas, and I've melted some cheese and kind of fried these up. You want to fry your tortillas a little bit in oil. I used olive oil. So when you're rolling them up into an enchilada, they don't crack and break. So your tortilla is nice and pliable. And plus it tastes really good too. I'm going to make 2 enchiladas. So I've got my tortilla and my cheese. And then I'm going to put a nice scoop of shredded pork in each tortilla. Look at that. Woo, looks so good. And then I'm going to put a little bit of, I love this canned green chili enchilada sauce. It's made with Hatch green chilies. Oh, so good. Put a little bit in each one. And then smother it over the top. I'm going to roll these up. I'm going to tuck it. Just like that. And then more of this enchilada sauce over the top. I'm going to give it a good amount so it doesn't dry out. Plus, I love a little bit of enchilada sauce with the rice and beans. Then to that, I'm going to add, so I put cheddar on the inside when I melted it on the tortilla, but now I'm going to add quesadilla cheese. That's a really yummy white cheese that melts really well. And I'm going to put that over the top. Yum. And then this is going to go in the oven or toaster oven for just maybe 10 minutes. I just want that cheese to be all melty because our meat is hot, the tortillas were warm. So all we're trying to do is just melt that cheese and kind of warm the whole thing up. So I'm going to go put this in the toaster oven and then we'll make our burrito and our tacos next. Our sweet pork enchiladas are in the toaster oven. I set it at 400 degrees. I'll check it in about 5 or 10 minutes. It should be done. Now let's move on to our burrito. And the difference between a burrito and an enchilada is the beans and rice and meat are all going inside the shell. And in the enchilada, we put the meat inside, but the rice and beans are going to be a side dish. So I'm going to start with my tortilla with cheese, and then I'm going to load it up. Look at that. Wish you could smell this. Look at all that great shredded pork. And then I'm going to put the rice and the beans right inside. There's the beans. And there's the rice. Now, we're going to make this burrito smothered. The way it's going to look. So, to smother this, it's just going to be like an enchilada. We're going to pour a bunch of enchilada sauce over the top of it. And more of this cheese. Check that out. So then this goes in the toaster oven or the oven, which leaves us with our tacos. So I've got 2 corn tortillas. I'm going to put the shredded pork inside each tortilla. And I have some avocado slices for these. So this one's really simple. Just whatever you put on a taco. You can put sour cream, guacamole, cheese. We could put some more cheese on this. We've got cheese on our tortilla. We can put a little bit more cheese. It's dinner time. Here's the enchiladas, fresh from the oven. The cheese is all nice and melty and the edges are brown. Here are the tacos. 2 shredded pork tacos. And now the burrito's done. Look at that bubbly deliciousness of flavor. Put some tortilla chips and some salsa and dig right in. I love good food. So 3 different meals. And look at all the shredded pork we have left over for another night. Hope you try this recipe.